So I guess I wanted to check in and talk about something a little different today, which is about grief, um, and loss, and I guess more particularly losing someone close to us. Um, Recently, as of like 10 days ago, my family dog passed away, and that was 10 days ago, and we had her for like 15 years. And a few days ago, I guess that was kind of like the soft launch of grief, and the hard launch hit a few days ago. I lost someone that was very close to me, um, and it's really the first time in my life that I've lost someone that is close to me. And I guess death is something that I've thought about a lot, and I would ponder a lot as a teen and growing up. But it was always something that I kind of escaped, or kind of like was out of reach, right? Like I know people that passed. Like I know there's like a few people that I went to high school with, and like 3 of them have already passed away from accidents and shit like that. Murder even for one of them. And each time it was kind of like a wake-up call. It made me realize how unexpected life can be, and nothing's guaranteed. And these weren't people that I knew very, very closely. They were kind of people that I sort of knew of their existence. I might see them around at school and stuff, but most of them I never even talked to, and like my close friends didn't really talk to them either. And so it was a little more far removed, a little more distant. And I guess I was more of the observer in these cases, these circumstances. And it was really sad, really heart-wrenching to see how affected others were and how hard it was for them. And I guess I cried some, and it was very devastating. I felt very empathetic and just compassionate for the situation. And I mean, it's tragic, it's devastating, especially the ways some of these people passed. And for many years I never really experienced anything similar. I mean, I've lost some people in family, but it's like family a little more removed, and not really people that I knew very much, or most cases I didn't know them at all. And so yeah, I guess I just never really had to take on that burden, that emotional burden, and really face that grief. And it's something that I thought about a lot, and I would like kind of be very worried and scared and feeling like I'm not ready to lose someone. And really, in retrospect, I feel like I was very scared to lose someone, to the point that there were times where I could see myself, I guess, intentionally being a little distant from, like, I don't know, older people in my life, or I don't know, just kind of having these thoughts, these emotions pop up where like I feel a little anxious, or like distant, or I don't know, I guess just dejected in a way. And I think I realize now that part of that is like a coping response, right? Like it would have been extremely hard to, I guess, it was extremely hard thinking of losing someone and being really close to someone and getting even closer. And so at some point I kind of caught this pattern just lightly. It's not something I was super conscious about, but lightly conscious about. And I guess over the years I was trying to improve my relationship with the fear of loss, and I had a lot of trouble being affectionate, being appreciative, saying I love you, and showing affection to people, saying I appreciate you, like I'm really glad you exist, or whatever, you know. I always felt, I mean, in my household it wasn't super prevalent. There was a long chunk of time where within like my own family we didn't really say I love you to each other anymore, starting when I was like, I don't know, maybe 12 years old or something. And I realized that kind of fucked me up for a while, and luckily things are much better now. But yeah, I guess I just came from an upbringing where affection and appreciation weren't super commonplace. We were very reserved, and I guess at some point I realized that I didn't really want that to be the case for me. I want to be close to people. I want to love. I want to be happy. I want to be content and take the risk. Because, yeah, I mean, basically when we choose to attach to someone, we run that risk. We open ourselves up to the happiness, but also to the pain, to the grief, to the suffering. And it's either you don't attach to something at all, or you do, and you just accept that there will be times where you'll be happy, there will be times where you're suffering, especially once they're gone. And there was this friend that I made when I was in college at UC Berkeley. It was fall 2019, just before COVID, and I was looking for housing. I was kind of desperate. I was looking around, and there was this really nice place for cheap. It was this lady who wasn't living at the house, but her ex-husband was there to help her out and give her a hand and show the room. And it was a very peculiar situation because the condition was that basically her health was kind of poor. She had a lung condition, so she lived more up in the mountains a few hours away, and would only really come to town for appointments and like the medical appointments and stuff. And she basically set the rule that the rent was like cheaper than market price and what you would find elsewhere, but it's with that condition that she might have to come and crash like every once in a while, once a month or something. And to me, you know, that sounded pretty good. I was up for it, and so I was on board. I quickly decided that I would take the place, and I found a roommate. And you know, this person was sort of like a landlord at first, but it's funny because over time the title changed, you know. First she was like my landlady, and I would describe it to people very differently. I was like, oh yeah, she's my landlady, and I'm like, oh yeah, she's like my landlady, but like she's kind of not. She's like subleasing, like she's really cool, she's really friendly, so she's kind of like my friend too. And then, you know, sometimes at one point I felt like she was like a grandma to me, like an aunt, a really cool aunt, a really cool grandma. She's very in the know, very hip, very very excellent at texting, an amazing conversationalist. So amazing that if you got wrapped in conversation with her, you have to be really good at setting your boundaries and being able to get out of it, because she could go on for hours, she could go on forever. And you know, that was a very special thing about her, and something I actually really appreciated, especially through COVID, because I mean, we were in quarantine, and you know, my life was pretty shitty through quarantine, and my relationship was crumbling. My relationship with my parents, I felt, was a little lacking, and I just felt sort of just disconnected from people. But more than anyone, I mean, not really from her. Like, we would text all the time. Oftentimes she would come visit, and we'd chat a lot, and we became really close to the point that like I caught up with her and talked to her a lot more than I ever did with my parents or even a lot of my friends. And you know, she really became like a best friend of mine. And for many of the years in college, she was there. She was there through my breakup, um, through the gaps between my breakups with my ex, and post breakup. I mean, she was there to support me, and pre my current relationship, the girlfriend I'm dating right now. I mean, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be dating her, really. I remember feeling kind of reserved and suppressing my desire for romance. I thought, nah, I don't want it. I just want to be casual. I'm not looking for anything serious. And at that time, I was close to flying out for a contract to teach here in China as an English teacher. And so yeah, I mean, I wasn't really looking for it, but I would talk to her about it. I would tell her about the dates we went on, and the conversations we were having, and how it was going. And I remember one time she was like, boy, like, you have a crush on this woman. um, she was just very honest, very blunt, and I mean, told it how it was, and I really appreciated that about her, and I think I tried to do the same for her, and she really appreciated that about me. And yeah, I mean, really, if it wasn't for her, like, I wouldn't have like kind of realized that, yeah, I guess I am pretty interested in this girl and this woman. And you know, I started dating her, and I think if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have. And yeah, give me 1 second. It's always a lot harder when people are walking by. It's a bit distracting, but that's okay. But yeah, and so, I mean, she's just a very, very special lady. She had these birds, like 9 macaws. She was a bird lady and a cat lady. She had 2 very shy cats and some very beautiful birds that she loved like they're her own children. And I feel like at some point, I mean, she saw me as like her child too, and she really, really appreciated me and loved me, and and yeah, just really, really cared about me, and I really, really cared about her, and we were really close for a long time. But you know, at some point over COVID, she got diagnosed with cancer, and you know, it wasn't too bad at first, but it actually looked optimistic at one point. She kind of beat it, and it was mostly gone, and then she was just kind of living her life normally for a while. Then at some point it came back, and it was a lot more grievous, a lot worse. It was more serious, and it reached some parts of her body that were definitely more dangerous for her well-being. And so I guess that was really the beginning of the end, and she started to slowly deteriorate in health, having to go to more and more doctor's appointments, getting surgeries, and by the end, I mean, going to the hospital, in and out of the hospital quite a few times. And during this time, I mean, while I still lived there, I kept up with her. She wasn't in a super bad condition while I was still around. I went off, I did my year here in China. I would keep up with her. I would message every few weeks, check in, have nice conversations. And at some point, I feel like maybe 6 months before her passing, we sort of tapered off. It was getting a little more hard to reach each other and have a more extended conversation. And you know, I think a part of me knew that, I mean, I knew she was dying. I knew that, I mean, it was basically terminal, and it was getting bad. And I feel like there was a part of me that felt very uncomfortable, felt very awkward, felt like I didn't know what to do, how to approach her, how to talk about things. It felt like it was harder to act like things are normal. And like we would, we would address illness and talk about death, and we talked about a whole lot of things. But I do feel like over time, as it was getting worse and worse, in a way I felt like I was suppressing myself. I was afraid to get closer and closer, and I'm very glad that by the end I was able to open up more and more, and over time I was able to, at least in text, I was able to really be honest and really show her how much she meant to me. And I was able to send texts that were more and more vulnerable, more and more honest, more and more appreciative, and I guess just let her know what she meant to me. And she really appreciated that. And I'm very glad that I did the best I could, and that I did as much as I could. And I feel like everyone grieves in different ways, and a lot of people, when they know that you've lost, the response is to sort of, I don't know, kind of just give like a, I think platitude is the word, just a saying like, oh, like, don't smile because they're gone, or don't be sad because they're gone, smile because like it happened, or something like that, like, or stuff like that. And a lot of it's all well-meaning, I'm sure, and a lot of it is helpful, can be helpful, and can serve as great reminders. But I feel like I realized that sometimes, like, it's good to know like what you want to shoot for, but I feel like I've also experienced it where the shame and the guilt of not being where you want to be, and not living up to that ideal. Let's say you think like, oh, like I shouldn't be sad, like I should be grateful, I should be happy, like I got to have so many great memories with her, like I got to experience so much of her kindness and her great positive energy. Like all of that is true, and all that can be helpful. But at the end of the day, I feel like really the best thing we can do is just accept ourselves where we're at, no matter how we feel. I think our feelings are valid no matter what. We feel things for a reason, and it's our response to our feelings that counts, right? That's where it's our decision to make. How do we respond to the things that we're feeling? But I have regrets in a way. I try not to, but it's hard not to, and I think it can be helpful to try and see things positively, but in order to get there, I mean, you have to accept yourself where you are. And sometimes we're very pessimistic, sometimes we're very, very bitter, maybe very resentful, very detached, very dejected, distance. And grief, death, it's complicated. We all have very complex relationships with people, and it's not as simple as just be happy. There's a mix of both. I mean, there are times where I feel pretty content and just super grateful and happy. There are times where I'm just struggling and I'm suffering and I'm in pain. And and that's okay. And I feel like I wasn't perfect. I didn't play everything perfectly, and I do wish sometimes that I did be more affectionate, that I kept up more, that I was more proactive in reaching out and maybe doing more calls rather than just texts, or doing video calls, or coming back home to visit. I mean, I was gonna fly back and hoping to visit her. We all thought that we had more time with her, and you know, it's it's not the case. We never know. Life is, I don't know. It does its own thing. We're not in control all the time. Most of the time, we're not in control. We can only control what we do. And, it's always a valuable lesson. The worst experience in our life is an opportunity for us to learn and to grow and to see what we want to do differently in the future. And maybe it's too late for us, but it's never too late for others, and maybe it means we try to help others not make the same mistakes as us. That's something too. And I'm very young. I'm hopeful that I have a long future ahead of me. There's no reason to think I don't. But I also know that we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to have reached the goal to inspire others and to help people get to where they want to be. And I think I'm definitely on the right path already, and I'm on the right track. And I think wherever we're at, everyone's on a different part of the journey, and it's I keep saying oh my gosh. Everyone's on a different part of their journey, and it's helpful to just sort of express where we're at and share it and be vulnerable. And I think that there are going to be people who are in a similar spot, or who are hoping to get where you're at, or who are not there at all. And wherever you're at, I mean, it's okay. The best thing we can do is accept ourselves and realize, where are we at, who are we, and then realize, who do we want to be, where do we want to go, what do we want to do in this life. And until we accept where we're at, it doesn't matter where we want to go. Like, we need that awareness first and foremost. So I guess my hope is that, for one, I hope people I do believe that it's important to show appreciation, show affection, show people that you care while they're still around. But I think it's also important to acknowledge our limits. We're not going to be exactly where we want to be, and that's okay too. It's just about slowly making progress. There's going to be upswings, downswings. It'll be a roller coaster, but as long as you don't give up, it'll be up and to the right, slowly. And yeah, I guess I just wanted to talk about that, and I hope that it can help y'all out there. And yeah, love the people around you, and let them know they're loved, because once they're gone, it's too late. And I guess I'll leave off with one more thing, a positive note, which is I attended the memorial for my friend online really early this morning. It was really, really painful. It was really sad, and I was suffering. But I'm really, really glad I went. It was so healing, and it was beautiful to hear everyone's testimonies, their stories of her, and it was something I was scared to attend, and it was the first time I attended something like it, but I'm very glad I did. And I guess that's what this is about, just slowly getting closer to where we want to be, and being able to tolerate suffering, to tolerate pain, to tolerate discomfort. It's gonna be horrible. It's gonna suck, but the more we do it now, the easier it will be later, and future us will thank us. And so, yeah, rest in peace, Alice, my friend, and my dog Snuggles. And I guess I hope this helps. And yeah.